Hi everyone, it's me again, and today we're going to be talking about the recent passing of YouTube content creator and streamer Twomad, how the internet responded, and how we got here in the first place. Before we begin, links, source, ways to support the channel, all down below in the description, along with an email to suggest content if you so desire, Amazon wishlist, Patreon, YouTube memberships, the whole nine, all down below. Thank you to my current members and patrons. Their names are on the screen. And I usually don't talk about passings of people as a sort of internet phenomenon. I don't want to be like that guy that used to do like the Where Are They Now videos, and he'd do the videos on like people like X, people like, I think he did one on Mac Miller also. I don't remember what his name is, but anyway, I don't want to be like that guy, but this is because this is like a more complex layered situation, and the internet reaction to Twomad's passing was one that I really haven't seen. So that's why I kind of wanted to discuss it with you today. There will be 3 parts of the video. Part 1, Twomad's internet career and controversy. Part 2, Twomad's passing and the Twitter response. And Part 3, Jameskii and Minx in particular, because that has been kind of the biggest, I guess, I don't know how else to say, drama that's been tied into this whole thing. Let's get right into it. Part 1, Twomad's internet career and controversy. So Twomad was a pretty popular Twitch streamer and content creator who grew in popularity from making videos during the lockdowns. Through making highly edited meme format videos on YouTube, along with videos where he would go into random Zoom calls, he amassed over 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Twomad, originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, moved to California allegedly due to the fact that he had family issues and that his sister called the police on him for eating food of hers from the fridge. I don't know how true that is. Twomad did make up a lot of stuff and act in very erratic ways throughout his online career, so that's not necessarily something that I can confirm, but he moved to California. The issue really came in once Twomad began abusing substances when he was becoming more popular online. I will say this once, and then I will call it a different name. He was pretty particularly abusing ketamine, which we will then call now horse medicine, because YouTube is YouTube, which he described it as something that was like part of his day-to-day. Even though as a result of using these substances, he would become more and more irrational and just very much slipping in ways that he would act very erratically towards people, very crass, very rude, would just act very immorally and then just like pretend like he has no idea what's going on. And Twomad began to get into several controversies within the last years of his career, with many creators mentioning little things that happened that were not brought to the public as well, beyond just what we see. Before this, earlier in his career, Twomad was friends with a creator named Jameskii, which I mentioned in the parts of the videos. According to Moist Critical, he said, or was it him? Or was it Turkey Tom? I have gotten lost in the sauce a little bit, but there was a description essentially, I think it was Turkey Tom actually, that said like a lot of it felt like it boiled down to Jameskii being very serious and Twomad making a joke out of everything. And Jameskii had a lot of pretty in-depth issues with Twomad, and Pyrocynical talks about it and reads the Twitlonger in a video. I just don't really know where to find it or if it's still up, so I'll put that clip in that outlines kind of what Jameskii's gripes were with Twomad. I haven't seen that many people talking about this, and then when I was looking on Twitter and stuff, I had trouble finding it, and I didn't see it in any videos. So I'm just going to read it here, and then other people can clip it if they want or whatever. It exists in the YouTube space. So, this is titled, My Experience with Twomad, and it's from 2019. So, Twomad now tries to twist the situation and get his viewers to attack me. To my surprise, he also went to other YouTubers to set them up against me. Really effed up considering what he did to me prior to these events. It's a long read, but please do if you want to know what really happened. There's plenty of screenshots, videos, and witnesses to back my word up. My experience with Twomad, especially recently, hasn't been very pleasant. Neither for me nor some of our friends. I wanted to keep it private and not bring it up to the public, but this has been going on for too long and he just tried to manipulate the public, so I had enough of this. Most recently, he lied to me and a mutual friend about getting kicked out of his house and about his financial situation. He was claiming he's only got a few months and that he needs to help to move to Los Angeles. I offered him help because he's my friend and he's only 18 and doesn't understand a lot of stuff in life. I convinced my housemate that even though he's young, he's chill and that we can help him out and direct him in the right direction. On top of that, I gave him a cut on rent pay for the first few months so that he can save some money. At the time, I didn't know that his intentions were to move to LA, were just for clout, but more about that later. Me and Twomad have barely spoke over the last few months for unknown reasons. I didn't have a problem with him despite him knowingly and purposefully harassing me in calls and chats. I made it clear multiple times, but in almost all of our conversations ever since, we've met, he continues to harass me over my PTSD speech problems. It's a bit of a personal topic that I don't like to bring up to the public. Even though I've improved a lot over the years, he would go as far as to mock me for sounding alike to terrorists. I'm used to people harassing me over dumb stuff. However, when your friend does that purposely to hurt you, that raises a lot of concerns. He wasn't only doing it behind the scenes. Back when we used to talk more, he'd join my streams and be a jerk to me for the lulz. It wasn't really banter. Our conversations would often turn into arguments with me saying that he should stop being a jerk, with him responding, "Why are you mad?" kind of childish stuff. He would often use the N-word to farm emotes in the chat, even though I asked him not to do it because it made a lot of the people, myself included, uncomfortable. He dropped hard R N-word multiple times, both in text chat and voice during streams, which is one of the reasons why we kind of stopped streaming together. Shortly after him dropping a few hard R N-bombs, Twomad received a warning from Twitch that he's enabling toxic behavior to stop immediately. I had nothing to do with this, but he blamed me for it. I didn't hold a grudge on him, even though that was really stupid. Getting back to the part for the harassment, he was using me as a punching bag during the entire 7-hour-plus Rainbow Six tournament this autumn, going as far as encouraging everyone to make fun of my speech problems in front of thousands of viewers, and at one point, all while saying it behind my back as we couldn't hear him. There's a fine line between banter, roasting your rivals, and just being a prick. I didn't know about most of it, and I was really confused by this. I got a vibe that Twomad held a grudge on me due to the amount of shots he fired at me. I brought it up because I wanted to resolve it and was concerned I might have upset him. We had to reset one of the rounds because my internet went down. Twomad didn't want it. He always claimed there was no issues between us. As I was going through the tournament footage for my videos, I discovered a lot more of his remarks about me, as well as the speech mocking part I mentioned earlier. I raised my concern to my R6 tournament teammates about our team potentially upsetting him with the reset and apologized to Twomad directly, to which he responded as if there was no problem. My friends would often say that Twomad just doesn't have any breaks and he doesn't know when to stop. Regardless of all that, I still used to consider him my friend and continue to help him out, including letting him live in my house plus helping him with the USA visa. I had to guide him through pretty much everything and was willing to do more because I wanted to help. I brought him multiple times that the entire move would be really expensive and potentially not worth it, and that his expenses would outweigh his income. Numbers provided by him, but Twomad said that once he was partner status on Twitch again, he will start making money. He was banned on Twitch before asking his fan to break the law and climb Abraham Lincoln's statue live on Twitch during his probation period because of previous violations. He's unbanned now but can't monetize his streams. Despite my concerns about his behavior, especially towards me, I didn't back down on my offer to help him since he's getting kicked out. During September, I had multiple conversations with my friends who overheard about him moving to my house. All of my friends said they didn't have a pleasant experience with Twomad or knew somebody who would have a word or two about it. Without dropping the names of all the friends I spoke to collectively, they said they wouldn't let Twomad in their house, but I imagine it's biased based on their experiences with him. Twomad is known for being vengeful, harassing people behind their backs, and leaking private conversations with malicious intent. Some of the people who shared their experiences with Twomad have raised questions on why does Twomad want to move out to LA of all places if he's Canadian, doesn't make much money, and is getting kicked out of his house. We called him to ask him questions because he wanted to make sure he's not going to regret his sudden decision to move to a foreign country without a proper plan. First of all, him getting kicked out within a few months suddenly changed to "I just want to move out," and that he wants to move to LA because it's where you make it big. Huge twist of the situation if you ask me. He also took it as a personal attack, kept assuming we no longer want him in the house or something like that, which he denied. We wanted to make sure he makes the right decision in his life and suggest maybe it would be better for him to move out in Canada first before moving all the way to LA. We made it clear he can live at our house and that we got no issues with him. According to him, he has never paid taxes in his life yet, so he doesn't realize how much money he's about to lose. We tried to explain to him that LA is extremely expensive and that he's going to live here at a loss and might not meet his expectations. As I mentioned earlier, he just insisted that we wait until he gets partnered, yada yada. He also made a Patreon a few minutes after our call, which is probably a right decision. I shared this situation twist with my close friend asking for help, to which all of them said he might just be taking advantage of me and I shouldn't let him treat me this way. I gave the benefit of the doubt to it and excused his actions because he's just young. He was planning to check out the house during a visit to LA for after TwitchCon. His plans were to stay in Vegas, then San Diego, and then at LA. He mentioned multiple times that we visited the house, but he never specifically said he would stay at our house. It was always vague and non-specific. He was also staying with other people during the trip instead with us. At TwitchCon, we got to hang out for a bit during some of the days, mostly because he arrived late due to postponing his flight. His reason for not getting on a plane was because there was a guy who had a turban. I hope it's a joke, but knowing his racist attitude, I doubt it is. He didn't get we didn't get to do stuff together much because he was mostly with others at the Airbnb, smoking weed with others, and would only grab our badges together, get a breakfast, and go bowling once with everyone. Although he didn't play much at all, which is not a big deal, but I wish we got to hang out more. As you might already know, me and Scott had to return to LA very early since we got extremely sick and he had to see a doctor ASAP. He got severe food poisoning and we both got a flu on top of that. We kept sending updates on our condition to TwitchCon group chat. After TwitchCon, Twomad suddenly messaged me, "See you at your house in LA on October 2nd. To which I responded what me and Scott might be at the hospital and can't hang out as our flu was getting worse. He didn't care about how we feel or what we're going through. He said that he's still coming, that he's going to stay at my house for 5 days. I was really confused because I knew he was coming to LA, but I didn't expect him to stay at my house. I assumed only a visit. There was never a deal, but I would still let him in. It was just really unexpected. He kept claiming that we agreed for him to stay 5 days and accused that I have some sort of issue with him, which confuses me even more. I called him out as dumb assumption when he began to guilt trip me for spending hundreds of dollars and that he can't even show up. Just a clarification that I never said he can't come. I was only confused about his intentions. After making it clear that I'm not claiming that he can't come, just he might not be able to stay by himself at the house if I'm at the hospital, and I asked him to clarify the part where I told him he could stay at my place. He showed me screenshots where I mentioned that the corner room is reserved for him since he specifically wanted it, and that there's no furniture, including no mattress. I explained to him that it's just a miscommunication, and it's not like I wouldn't let you in the house, but you should just be clear more next time, all right? He started guilt tripping me even more, and at the time I didn't realize he was just being manipulative, and I offered to pay full price for a hotel stay in case I'm at the hospital and he can't stay at my place. A week in a Los Angeles hotel is $1,000 to $2,000 if you book it last moment, by the way. He continued guilt tripping me. After a few hours, I told him that if he promised to take full responsibility for the house, I can let him stay in my room even if I'm at the hospital. He told me he promises and reminded me if it would be cool if I pay for his hotel. Day before his arrival, I asked him for his terminal so I could pick him up and drive him to the house. He told me that he will stay with someone else. I suggested we go to the zoo during his visit, and he said it would be a good idea. I was upset we didn't get to properly hang out during TwitchCon, especially since I wanted to know him better. We knew each other for years, and it was the very first time we met in person. Now, ever since he came to LA, he kept either ghosting me or declining hanging out with me. Most of the time, he wouldn't bother responding unless it was too late to go anywhere, while remaining active everywhere else. I was inviting him to a lot of activities like mini golf, zoo, arcade, bowling, and batting cages, as well as just to hang out. Me and my friends got a vibe that he's just purposely avoiding me, and I asked him if I could come over, and Twomad kept insisting I shouldn't worry about it with a really disingenuous vibe. I told him that there was only 2 days I can be guaranteed free and I could pass by tomorrow because I know where his city is. He said gotcha, and I asked for the address, and suddenly he changed his mind out of nowhere and told us we will go cages. He didn't even end up telling me the address or anything, just changed the topic. He did go out that day, and I asked if he went to a cinema because I was going to invite him, and he said yeah. I asked him if it's going to be just him for batting cages or with someone else, since he never made it clear who he was staying with. He said he doesn't think he'll be able to go to cages and that we'll just spend time at the house. When I suggested come over, he didn't want to at first, and then he said, no problem, let's do it. Right in the middle of our conversation, he decided to go to sleep and went offline immediately without telling me the address, which made me really uncomfortable. He specifically said his status is invisible just to make it look like he's gone. I asked him to let me know tomorrow and went to bed. Fast forward, he's still ghosting me. He was using Twitter and Instagram, however, ignored all my messages. This caused me sleep deprivation. I was really stressed out and confused by all of this. I was going to Australia for a few days to hang out with my friends for a bit. I couldn't come to PAX originally due to me and my housemate's condition, so I thought it'd be cool to have a good time together after instead. Twomad ignored my messages. When I asked if he's in Australia, he just replied with sex immediately. I asked him where he is, and what he just said Perth. I told him I'm coming in 2 days and asked the address. He gave me an address and told me to come anytime. Turns out the address was fake. I didn't realize at the time and didn't bother checking, so I just told him that I'll be in Melbourne and asked him who he stayed with. He told me he was with Frank from Canada. Random side note, Perth is in Canada. I think it's in Ontario somewhere. It was also a lie because everyone knew he stayed with anything for views. Plus, I asked Chad about it and he had no clue. Twomad also lied to me that he will only stay for 5 days, while everyone else told me he will stay for at least a month. After that, he was ghosting / avoiding me every time I tried to ask him anything. 3 days later, I got invited to a private event. Can't say the name of the event yet due to NDA, but it's definitely one of the biggest companies in the world, and they invited only a few people, so I couldn't pass on it and had to stay in LA. I tried to reach out to Twomad, but instead of giving me responses to anything, he would just ask me everything back like a pirate. I got parrots. I told him I'm going to the event. He told me he's going as well. I didn't know he was invited, so I asked if I wanted to go somewhere beforehand, and he was just dodging me. It really threw me off. He didn't show up to the event, so I messaged him asking him, why is it okay to lie to me? And he's like, what's wrong? And he just used his favorite I was memeing shield. He uses all the time to avoid responsibility for his actions and told me not to worry about him. I was still shocked that he would treat me like this, and on the 18th I asked him, you really think it's fair to lie to me for 2 weeks? Straight up absolutely no reason. What happened? He sent me cringe.mp4 file he deleted immediately and then sent a really bad image of Captain America saying, no, I don't think I will. I called a trusted person who was at Australia with Twomad on some of the days to ask where is Twomad and ask about what the F is even going on. I was advised to talk about my experience with Twomad with Chad. I spoke to Chad about this briefly. At no point I said anything like, don't talk to Twomad, yada yada. I just shared my experience and how I feel about it. When Chad was saying everything seems fine, I told him that that's all that matters and I'm just sharing my experience. I don't know what Chad told to Twomad, but a few minutes later, Twomad went and wrote a 1,000-word literally rant about what a bad person I am, yada yada. He twisted the situation multiple times and tried to guilt trip me really hard, but it didn't work this time because I could see everything right through. The cherry on top was, quit the pettiness. This is literally the definition of high school drama. Just leave me alone, man. I didn't bring it to the public because I didn't want drama. I didn't want our viewers to be involved, and I thought he's just a scum person who will move on after this. The only people who knew about the situation at the time were people who were around both of us and just saw it slowly develop. At no point I called anyone up to get them against Twomad. The only conversations were just me sharing experience and asking for advice because at the time I didn't realize I was manipulated. Pretty ironic because Twomad allegedly went ahead and started to try to get people against me behind my back almost immediately. Despite the just me alone man part, I would assume that tried to say just leave me alone. He said to me he was tweeting at me all morning, targeting not just my tweets but also my replies to my fans. He blocked me on Twitter so I couldn't even see his replies. Worth mentioning, he has been deleting some of the Discord messages and then edited his manipulative rant. Good thing Discord shows the time of his edits. He also deleted me everywhere right after. I got no contact with him. Form your own conclusion, folks. I'm deeply sorry to all the viewers and friends that had to read this. So that's the Twitlonger, and let's get back to the video. Twomad made a response video to Jameskii, which I found a re-upload of, and I'll link in the description, where Twomad kind of talks about like how Jameskii's just like a liar and fixates on this fact that he thinks he's Russian or something. But the problem is like the video is edited so in a way that is so convoluted and unserious when supposedly addressing something that is supposed to be, you know, serious, that it really gets lost in the format and it's like genuinely hard to understand.
Every trace of conversation in Russian with no fuckers, fucking purged. Why, you might ask? Fuck knows, I'm not trying to get assassinated. In the last few days, Jameskii deleted all the YouTube videos with Russian in it, and the only person with Russian videos of Jameskii is no fuckers, and he's asleep because he lives in the middle of fucking nowhere.
And it kind of makes me confused if I don't understand how people watched his content, because it's like they were like MLG format videos, but they were also supposed to be commentary videos. It's really giving the concept of like, if you're watching a video, you put like sand cutting in one corner and Subway Surfers in another corner, and then like Family Guy funny moments in another corner. It really feels like that, but in more of like a consistent edited flow. Twomad was also really, really, really bad for being absolutely asinine on Twitter. And just an idiot in general when it came to the way that he would act online. Like, imagine the most addicted to Twitter, internet obsessed person who like doesn't even know what color grass is, let alone touched it ever. But then like multiply that by 10. Twomad was constantly tweeting, hundreds of tweets by the day. And Twomad began beefing on Twitter. And Twomad just kept tweeting and tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. And this is where the bigger controversies start to come in. So to be more specific, because I got it a little bit mixed up here, I thought it was Jameskii that tweeted at him. In this circumstance, it wasn't. It was Twomad was beefing with an account called Ghetto Smosh that just makes shitpost edits of Smosh videos that are kind of racist. And then he's beefing with that person. And then some random person goes in and says, you don't have a girlfriend, lol. And that's where all of this comes in. Pyrocynical will explain it to you better than me. Tweeted this tweet where he was like, Twomad, you're too tilted. Okay, go outside, touch grass, relax, but also you have no girlfriend. as the final kind of, you know, swing. Okay. To which Twomad rebutted with a picture of Brianna Gay, a trans teen from Britain who was unalived by other teenagers in a literal hate crime, and said that the person in the photo, Brianna, was his girlfriend.
So a random person got involved in the argument, basically just saying, Twomad, you need help, you need to get offline, you have no girlfriend. And then he quote tweeted the account with the caption saying, no, I do have a girlfriend, look. Now, if you don't know who the girl in the picture is, it's Brianna Gray, a trans 16-year-old girl in the UK in Cheshire, and she was killed. She was killed by 2 teenagers that were 15, and the police investigated, and they haven't got any kind of motive at the minute, but they are investigating the possibility that it was a hate crime because she was trans. Now, Twomad quickly followed up by deleting that tweet and making a follow-up tweet saying, I didn't know she died, I just thought she was hot. Now, the thing is, what you need to understand about Twomad is he has a very direct line of delivery, and in doing so, he removes kind of like all subtlety or nuance. You could look at Twomad's tweets and argue that he tweets like a complete psychopath. And, you know, I'm gonna say, even if he was being honest about that and not knowing about, you know, the trans girl dying, he could have gone about it in a more subtle way, like, oh my god, shit, I'm so sorry, guys. You know, instead of saying the one who died is hot. Not the best way to approach that. Now, that is where the story should have ended, but unfortunately, it just kept getting worse. Like Twomad tweeting out saying, hey, look, to my GF, she's 8, trans, and just got stabbed to death by bullies. No. Now, obviously, at this point, it's pretty obvious that Twomad is making his bed to lie in. The previous joke, he could have got away with, you know, if he was genuinely apologetic and was like, shit, I didn't know. But now he's like trying to play self-aware, and a lot of people on Twitter started to shit on him for it. Now again, even after everything that's happened, I'll be honest, everyone would have forgot this in like 2 days. There's a new story every 24 hours. How do you think I keep this shitty slut channel alive? There is always something new happening, everyone would have forgot. But then it got worse again. It got worse because a girl came out about him, and apparently he sent her all these DMs after she blocked him for essaying her. Now the messages he has sent to this girl, I have never seen an interaction like this in my entire life. It is like if you put Heath Ledger playing the Joker in an Among Us lobby. It does not make sense, it should not make sense, and it never will make sense, which is exactly what these DMs are. Scrolling through these, he just spams like, I miss the rage, and Kanye West's mother named Donda over and over, and he has sent these like hundreds of times. And then when someone asked for proof to like, you know, play the voice messages that Twomad had sent her, she played them, and it's just him making completely incoherent noises. Here we go.
After being rightfully called out, Twomad just tweets with, I didn't know she died, I just thought she was hot. And also, Twomad would use multiple profile pictures of other YouTubers. He did iDubbbz' old profile picture for a long time. He did Call Me Carson's profile picture that existed for a long time. And like people were literally changing their profile pictures because of how they did not want to be associated with Twomad. Not only this, he was told that Brianna was a minor. So not only are you doing like a disgusting representation of someone who was hate crimed, you also are saying that you wanted to date a minor. So that is where people have a lot of allegations that Twomad was a PDF file, if you will, amongst a couple of other things that get more complex through like lawsuits and things like that, or through like court cases rather. So in the backlash, someone tweeted, which we later found out her name is Isabella, that they know how Twomad really is and the real person that he is and the crimes that he's committed and that he was abusive and that she wanted to take him to court, but she could not afford to do so. So then Jameskii comes in and actually states that he will take Twomad to court through her, kind of in the sense of like that he's willing to pay for it because he knows how bad of a person he is. Later down the line, we get to see court documents that outline Twomad's behaviors from harassment, which is proof that was posted to Twitter, and Twomad does admit to. And legal documents also showed that Twomad allegedly SA'd Isabella, along with forcing her to do drugs with him, trapped her, pushed her, and allegedly had a firearm. Twomad says this firearm was not real. It's like one of those like BB guns that looks like a Glock. Jameskii says that he had actual real firearms in the house, which would be super illegal beyond obviously like pulling a gun at somebody is illegal in and of itself, I think, but America's America, so who knows. But you are not allowed to own a gun in the United States if you're not a US citizen, and Twomad is a citizen of Canada. And for some reason, Twomad decided that with all of this controversy coming up, the best path of action was to defend himself on a Turkey Tom live stream with Gokanaru. So he decided to pick those guys. So we can imagine like the logic that's going through his mind, right? Like the level that we're at here. Don't worry. I watched the entire 2 hour and 58 minute video that featured 2 hours and 40 minutes of a Twomad interview. And I will provide you my play-by-play notes of everything that happens, but obviously I will also put it in the live stream. I am not gonna clip a lot of it, if any of it. We'll see what happens when I'm editing, just because it was so painfully long and Twomad really doesn't say much of anything. So Twomad opens with saying that there was this apology video that he had tweeted out where he was driving at the same time, by the way, and the phone seemingly was on his lap, and it was supposed to be this apology. He says that this apology was actually just written by somebody else, and he just read it out while driving, again, as mentioned. And Twomad made another kind of like wild out shitpost apology video while clearly abusing substances, and also would respond to other commentary channels by just doing weird unhinged reaction videos, which Turkey Tom does drill him on a lot. Twomad was interviewed by Turkey Tom, but was barely coherent, kind of blabbering a lot. He just kept saying that there were just people who wanted to sue him, as if like that was like an arbitrary trait that people have, like the wanting to be sued, and kept rambling with random responses to every kind of comment about him, just saying that he's based. He just kept saying things were based. And you see like a bunch of like messages too, where it's just him saying like he's based all the time.
Did you do it? Did you do it?
Yeah.
So the kids thing was definitely like a big thing.
I mean, there's like once again, like there's just I get that like you think it's funny and I get it, but like you're just stirring up needless controversy when you do stuff like that, and like it doesn't like make you appeal to more people.
Based. Who does that? It's based, isn't it? Is it not based?
I don't think it's that based, dude. I think it's just like self-destructive and stupid. I don't think it's based to
Why
like
is it-
ruin your life.
What's self-destructive? Okay, but I didn't ruin my life.
You're ruining people's perception of you and like your only job, which is YouTube. as
Okay,
far as
but
I
people
know.
being who? 60% liked my video, 40% didn't. Okay, let's chop up that 40%. Emily BLM, alright? She didn't like me before the allegations because edgy videos or whatever.
Who didn't?
Asian accent. Emily BLM.
Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Emily Black Lives Matter.
I just don't know who that is. Like, honestly.
It's not a person, it's like a persona. Emily.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
see.
white
a
people.
phenotype.
You're saying the people who sue you, the types of people who
Yes.
sue you? Gotcha,
Yeah.
bro. Okay, he's saying like white people who are like liberals, like, you know, give a shit about identity politics, whatever.
He also says that he's addicted to Twitter for attention and keeps repeating that all of his unhinged behaviors are based. Later, he goes into this kind of sub-rant where he thinks that he has autism and that's why he has these behaviors. And it's really sad because about 32 minutes in, Twomad starts talking about how he's going to make this huge comeback in the next year. So this was filmed in September of 2023, and that there was a really big plan for a comeback this year, to which obviously that never happened because 5 months later he passed away.
Well, what's your like outlook for like the next year? Like, you think you're just gonna win and then just come back to YouTube? Is that your plan?
Yeah, I'm like the thing is my intelligence works, so eventually I can just use it to like get money and stuff.
Do you get why
So,
your video wasn't that well received and didn't perform that well? Like, obviously, like making.
I know why it was. It's not because of why you think it is.
No, making a video with like a good camera that's like well formatted
No,
and has like
it's not
coherent
that.
points,
No,
like
it
that
didn't
would make
need
it do
to
well.
It didn't need quality. It needed just like not
Yes.
schizo.
It needed a point. It needed like a clear,
No.
concise point where you like address it piece by piece, not reacting to a Oompaville
No.
video in full.
No, dude, that's not why it didn't get.
All right, let's
views.
hear it then.
The camera thing has been debunked so many.
It's not
times.
just the
audio
camera.
is-
It's the camera. It's your lack of care. There's no structure to the video. You don't show like a
It's
single
not that.
screenshot. There's no editing. It is that.
White's video is dog. White's video is all over the place. It starts half the video is fucking dog.
Each
Yeah,
video
but
is like a
it's like
concise
trying to
point
take
by
it
point
seriously,
story.
you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
Yeah, it's okay, fair enough. What you're saying is that okay. The thing is, the Quiet video, yes, only about interesting. Shit. My video is like, oh, I'm like talking about shit that's unrelated to the drama that everybody wants to hear about. True, that's one thing. That's the views, but it's mostly the fact that I've already gotten all the attention from the thing, and instead of saying nothing, I decided to just spend all those attention coins on Twitter by posting like literally driving or whatever. That's
I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of it. I think if you had made like a good video, like it would have still been viewed
I
by
kinda
like
did.
more people. You did not.
but it kind of did. I explained things.
Not really.
I mean,
not
I
convincingly.
parsed out what you were trying to say. Yeah. But like,
It might
you
be.
get how like someone clicks on the video and it's like, and they're 10 minutes in and they haven't like gotten any. Like, you put all the fucking actual information basically like 30 minutes in, bro.
Yeah, but I feel like if somebody really cares, they can go to it. Like the thing is, even if I did the thing where I made it like a quiet video, it still wouldn't get that many views. I feel like
It would. It would get like you could get like 500K bottom line.
Yeah, 500K. Like that's realistic, but like 500K ain't shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what does that say about the overall picture? If it's getting 500K, if I perfect it, bro.
And he actually talks about the this is how, like, I guess you can argue poorly it aged or perfectly it aged almost, where he says like one of the most unlikely things that can happen to him is losing his YouTube channel, because Turkey Tom says, you know, the way you're acting on YouTube, there's a lot of, and with the allegations and the lawsuit, if you lose, there's a potential you could lose your channel and all that kind of stuff. And he says, oh, I'm definitely not going to lose my channel. That's like dying. That's not happening anytime soon. And it's just so, it felt haunting kind of to watch it. The interview, like, contextualized with like the current, obviously, state of everything is just very jarring. This was a very jarring rabbit hole to go down for me because I had no clue what was happening before this. So with this Isabella person, Twomad eventually starts getting into it. And he said that they had conversations about being friends and stuff because he wanted to date her kind of, but only if he could just like constantly have sex with her. And she says that they couldn't be friends because he'd always want to touch her. And he just like he lies a lot. He doesn't prove things with his actions, and that she just hears the same thing over and over again. And Twomad replies with, he can't be nice to her because he just wants to have sex with her and that's it, so they can't be friends. So she got mad also because of the fact that Twomad tried to sexualize her self-harm scarring. And again, just replies that he thinks he has autism as a response when he will press him on that being a bit of a bizarre behavior. She also said that Twomad kept trying to touch her leg. Like, he confirms, he said, I kept trying to touch her leg and she kept pushing me off. And then finally when she said no, I stopped. But then I started touching her feet instead. As if, again, it's clear when someone is physically trying to force you off that should be your point of no return. But again, I guess it's not obvious enough for a lot of people. There is also a random rant where he talks about, like, they're pressing him, Gokinaru and Terki Tom are pressing him on his use of substances and how that could have affected things, because also Twomad's timeline is kind of all over the place. And he keeps going back and forth if he's even sent things to his lawyer or not. He says the lawyer says it's a nothing burger and a slam dunk. He talks about that for a while. But when they're trying to piece together the timeline, there's a random kind of rant about if he can have the right path of memory, but then also he just says he has autism. So there's like this interview kind of answers all of the questions and none of the questions. It contextualizes a lot of holes in even Isabella's story with his erratic behaviors because they're being shown here to a certain degree, but also just doesn't answer any questions, especially people who wanted to support Twomad, really. And then Twomad says he's still a virgin when they ask about him maybe just trying to see other girls, but then he also talked, and then they go, didn't you have sex with her? And he's like, yeah. Like, it's just genuinely, like, it makes zero sense. And then Twomad, again, after this, just says he's based. Absolute nightmare fuel. Basement dweller extraordinaire, a Cheeto, then enters the chat, literally. Then just literally asks about ketamine, and that's it. And like a couple of really mundane questions. Then they talk about Overwatch, and that's how it ends. That's what comes out of 3 hours. Yeah. And with that, we'll move to part 2. So part 2 is the passing and the Twitter reaction. So usually, as long as you're not Henry Kissinger, when you pass away, the response online is typically one of sadness, maybe mixed feelings at worst, right? Well, that was most definitely not the case with Twomad. There was a mix between people straight up celebrating, usually at best people being like, oh, he was kind of a jerk, but at the end of the day, he passed away young. People like Pyrocynical and Moist Critical held that sentiment. And I'll quickly add some like video clips of what I mean about that sort of sentiment.
Our agency, like Matt and him communicated very frequently because we'd get him like ads for his videos and such. And there was like this switch that flipped. And I'm guessing it's when he started taking drugs, because he started to get really... He went down a really bad path, and he never recovered from it. So he would say some things, and he just, I guess, kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I'd heard like things from other YouTubers about him, like in real life, and it was all really pretty horrifying stuff. But I didn't know the extent of it until like a ton of creators came out today to tell their experience with him. It's fucking awful. I don't know what the drug of choice was or whatever. I've seen a lot of people saying he was addicted to ketamine or something, but yeah, it was... Whatever he found destroyed his mental state and created a monster, apparently. And today, he was found unresponsive from a supposed drug overdose.
I mean, I'll be honest, from personal experience, he was an asshole to me as well. Like, a good example is he... this was a couple of years ago. But just to show like the behavior he had, he tried to poach one of my editors from me, and that's pretty normal in the YouTube scene, like editors getting taken on by other YouTubers. But he went behind my back and then reached out to one of my editors, and he said, you know, whatever Pyro's paying you, I'll pay you double, just to basically get him to come over. And thankfully my editor actually had like a level of loyalty and then came to me and told me about it. And then I confronted Twomad and I said, you know, I'm not gonna tweet about it or expose you or anything like that, but you know, I just think like that's really fucked that you do that. And he was like, he was really unapologetic, and he basically just blamed it on his ADHD. And then, like, a couple of days later, he deleted his entire Discord account, almost as if to kind of like hide the evidence. So I've had bad experiences with him. But that being said, as much as I see everyone dunking on him on Twitter for like horrible stuff that he's done, that's still someone that's incredibly young that died, like 23. And also on top of that, that's someone that's a situation where someone's parents have outlived their child, which I think is just, it's fucking horrible.
The only person who seems to be actually like riding for Twomad is the content creator Lyrics, who I talked about in the Mama Max video a little bit. But the general internet reputation of Lyrics is not one that is very good. So if that gives you an idea of the general consensus, that's where it lies. To what many people gather, along with reports from TMZ, it appears that Twomad passed away from an overdose, which kind of makes sense given the discussions around the horse medication being a daily thing for him. And then along with some other things, he talks about using cannabis and a couple of other substances as well through the interview. And many speculate based on like Discord status and stuff that he actually passed away playing Overwatch. But there was also footage, which I'm not going to put in because it doesn't really serve anything, but there was footage allegedly released by somebody, I don't really know, somebody who was in like the server with, like a Discord server with him or something like that, or one of his editors, that it was just like a video of him incoherent, like on the ground, like sitting on the ground, like taping things together, trying to make this like arm object, to which that was allegedly the day that he passed away. And it's interesting because to me, Twomad's passing was genuinely sad, but not in the way that like I mourn that specific person, if that makes sense. But it's because like I'm the same age as him, like we're born the same year, and it's just kind of hard to see somebody like have this legacy because of everything they've done so young and see such a response. It just feels like such a shallow representation of like the beauty of life. And I know it's so deep sounding. I don't know, there's just something that's like, you want to see a redemption story, right? And it's like, it's really jarring because to see someone hated at worst, at best, people just, the only defense of why you shouldn't mock that he passed and joke around about him passing or celebrate is the moral argument of it being immoral to do that to someone who's passed away. That's the argument, not that like there were redeeming qualities, which is what you would usually want to be the argument. Jameskii and Minx also tweet a lot about this, but I need to go into that separately in part 3. So part 3, we have Jameskii and Minx. So Jameskii and Twomad were once friends, as I mentioned earlier, and then they had a falling out. Jameskii at that time posted a Twitlonger about him. I don't really know where to find it, so I will clip someone reading it, hopefully. If not, this will be enough of a kind of summing up anyway, really, at the end of the day. So upon Twomad's passing, Jameskii actually released a tweet that read as follows. I can finally say it. Twomad was and a pedophile. Over the past few years, he tried to murder me multiple times for helping the police and detectives in multiple states to investigate a lot of horrible things he's done. He wanted to take out multiple innocent lives by getting behind a wheel and going head on a freeway while being high on illegal drugs. He didn't succeed once as he overdosed before killing everybody, so he tried it again. Despite him trying to murder me on multiple innocent lives, I've been trying to help law enforcement to make sure he's safe, doesn't get hurt, and doesn't harm anybody. Please remember that he's a pedophile, and he continues to prey on the vulnerable even after the police got involved, including a 13-year-old in a mental hospital. The tragedy does not excuse any of his actions. I will address a lot of the stuff when I fully collect my thoughts. Past few months have been a total mess and a reason why I ended up in ER. Please give me time. The tweet sparked many people coming out against Twomad as well. People kind of replying with this tweet, kind of being like, this is my relationship with him, this is what happened, and prompted yet another explanation tweet that is much longer, and I will read that as well. This one, I don't think I'll be able to like fully put on screen because it scrolls a ton, or I can put the pieces. When my friends and colleagues say that my life was in constant danger, they're not talking about just threats. Just within a short time frame, I had a bullet hole in my office window, was told to wear a concealed bulletproof vest when I'm in public, witnessed a SWAT team with ballistic shields outside of my home, and had to cooperate with an anti-terror unit when the rapist made implications of people's lives being in my control at TwitchCon, leading to the entire convention center being surrounded by police SUVs. This isn't even all the things I, my colleagues, and my close ones had to endure. Just to give a perspective. I don't think I need to explain why I was not talking about it publicly, but it But if multiple people coming forward confirming what I said is true isn't enough, a lot of information is now public records and can be accessed by anyone. There was never a lawsuit at any point. There were court orders that led to multiple cases, civil and criminal. Once again, there has never been a lawsuit. A lot of these things are public records and always have been. It has never been about money. He lied to the public, and some morons ate it up despite court cases being public records. The justice courts in multiple jurisdictions deemed it necessary to provide restraining orders to protect the victims/witnesses and those around them. The burden of proof is on the prosecution, and it was met in full. The courts issued multiple permanent restraining orders for many of his victims as he was vicious, unhinged, and violent, going out of his way to hurt not just his victims but those who were close to them, all just to inflict maximum damage on anyone he's hurt. Twomad has been caught destroying evidence, sending threats to witnesses, and fabricating stuff to brainwash his audience. The judge shut down his lies during the hearing, and all of this is public records. Just a reminder that this guy got caught hiding in the court's cafeteria when he realized he would get to see one of his victims in person again. This is the same guy who was dancing on the grave of a child just a year ago. This is the same guy who secretly recorded multiple videos of him committing crimes, including assault and pointing a gun at one of his victims. He shared those videos with friends, but was mortified to find that the court had gotten a hold of them. This is public record once again. I was told the arrest warrant was supposed to go just before the final over. There were multiple reasons why it took so long. The main reason being that the investigation involved many jurisdictions in multiple states, and the amount of everything they had to go through has been insane. Outside of direct messages, phone calls, and live streams, he's tweeted over 17,200 times since early August alone. Also, some people interfere with the investigation, and I'm waiting on confirmation whose names I could bring up today. All while a lot of information is public or will be soon made public by the authorities, please don't bring up the victims' names and don't wish ill will on Twomad's family. I can't stress enough that despite what he put me through, leading to my health complications that made me end up in the ER, I've been actively making sure he doesn't over. And while the DAs were preparing for everything for prosecution, we were going to great lengths to make sure he doesn't get hurt and gets the help he needed. Meanwhile, his rabid fanbase has been encouraging him to continue what he was doing, attack his victims directly, and encourage others to do the same. This isn't the hill you should die on. Stay safe. So after that, when he was referring to the people who were kind of messing up the case, this is where Minx comes in. And Minx, however, felt that it was bad taste to kind of come out with all these tweets once Twomad passed away. But many say this because of the civil case, obviously no longer being able to come to fruition, that they can kind of start bringing up this stuff in a more public manner on like Twitter. So I'm going to read both the original tweet, and then Minx released also another longer explanation tweet. So Minx quote tweets Jameskii and says, as someone who experienced firsthand and spoke about it, I think this tweet is insane. Not even 10 minutes after they announced his passing. I supported the lawsuit that's happening, but I can finally say it after he just passed is crazy. This is just weird. And then Jameskii claims that Minx had actually messed with evidence and had become an issue in the case. So this is the tweet that explains it. Twomad's passing was a shock that no one was prepared for, and despite the fact that he was an absolute head, I was shocked to see people just jump to slander him without even mourning his death or thinking about his family. Even being a victim of him myself, I just still think his family should have been considered. You can disagree with me, but this is just how I feel. He's still someone's family member. That's my opinion. So that was the kind of opinion that I was talking about before too, when I said like a lot of the like quote unquote like best case scenario where like conversations around him were like that his family matter and that you should let them mourn kind of thing. It was apparent he had mental health issues. As much as anyone that knew him wishes they were capable of helping, he refused it and continued to act in a threatening manner to not just me, but many other people. There's only so much a human can tolerate and absorb before it impacts their own mental health. It's no secret I have my own mental health issues and a problem with not thinking before I speak, but that doesn't make me a malicious person. Ignorant, definitely. Naive, also, but malicious, I don't think so. Even in the heat of my emotions being stalked non-stop by him, what I said is something I do regret in the clip that's making its rounds. That's the one where she said that she kind of wished that he would pass away. I cannot take back words now, but obviously I was frustrated. I'm aware that it's not an excuse. I know why it was wrong and insensitive to say something like that, but even now I don't feel guilt because I didn't cause his death. It was just wrong to say in a terrible timing. Do I wish I could take it back? Yeah, but I also don't blame myself for being pushed to that point. When I said that, it was after daily back-to-back calls from burner numbers or no caller IDs. I couldn't take any calls without the threat I'd answer to him. I couldn't go live without him instantly harassing me or potentially showing up to my house, but for some reason people don't want to provide those clips. He found my address and would leave random shit at my doorstep or vandalize my house at various hours of the day. He'd send pictures of guns, and regardless of it, they're airsoft guns. Do you think they look any different when you get pictures of them sent to you with threatening context? I'm not sure why people are quick to dismiss my experience or feel the need to turn this into anything else that it's not. If it's because you actually care about the truth, if you like to have a discussion privately, I'm open to them, specifically with anyone that's personally been impacted by Twomad and not a goddamn third party. Otherwise, I don't care for anyone's opinions or manipulation of the situation. I also still don't understand how I lawsuit, and I'm disappointed Jameskii said that with no evidence. So this obviously hasn't like developed all the way yet, so I'm not really sure necessarily where all of that's kind of coming from. It's a very kind of jarring and sad, complex scenario. Jameskii did provide that stream footage where she's kind of like, well, I wish, you know, he wasn't around. But then the guilt that comes with that could also result in Minx's response, but Minx has also been someone who's been quite messy online. So it's just like, this whole situation obviously is not ideal, and I hope that the victims can still get some sort of healing and answer to this and closure, even with the result that did occur. And I hope that Twomad's family is well and are able to mourn in peace without too much internet harassment. To conclude, again, this has been a very sad and complex situation, and I will provide more details if there needs to be, but I really don't think there is. Links, source, and ways to support the channel all down below, along with an email to suggest content in a longer format if you want. Stay safe, everyone. I hope all of you have an amazing day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.